They are certainly one of the more uniquely named bands in the area. Tonight, joining me on the 9 o'clock news local edition, I have in studio the Ostrich Primer. Don't worry, we'll get into where that name comes from a little bit later on. But how about we start off by introducing you to the band, beginning with Clay.
How you doing?
Moving on from there, next to him, we have Dark Charlie.
Hello, America.
And down on the end, we have Brad.
So,
shameless promotion. You're not above it.
Absolutely not.
Well, no one else is going to do it for us, so.
Well, that's the thing about it. You really want to get your name out there, you're going to have to pound the pavement. And I know you guys had a write-up. Your new album came out. You finally got that together, and you actually landed in the Herald Citizen. There was an article in there.
Yeah, the Herald Citizen ran an article on us not too long ago because we have released a brand new album, Phoenix. Just came out. We recorded it with Ricky Scruggs. And we had a lot of local vendors and artists that was helping us out make this album. The cover art was made by a local artist by the name of Emily Venturino.
Mm-hmm.
The back artist was made by a good friend of ours,
Mike Luttrell. And we also paid for the whole thing by playing in local bars and establishments around town. So we tried to keep the entire album local.
You play locally, but how often do you play?
All the time.
All the time.
Usually 2 or 3 times a month. We'll have gigs just around Cookeville, Murfreesboro.
and we practice twice a week at least, for at least 3 to 4 hours per practice.
We're trying to stay as busy as we can and keep the music scene going, which is sometimes pretty difficult.
The music scene here in town, it's there and then it's not. You'll go a few years with a very vibrant live scene, and then there won't be for a few years, and then there will be, and then there won't be, and it's just hard to keep up with it.
What are the crowds like?
It depends on the establishment, really. We've played a lot of different types of, mainly bars. One of our last big gigs was at a biker bar, which was a completely different element for us, but they were cool people. Everyone seemed to enjoy it. We kind of have to set our sets up around the places we're playing. Like, of course, at the biker bar, we played more classic rock and less of the new heavy stuff. We try and cater to our crowd.
But you do work in new material, your material, original, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
Original material, not just, hey, we're going to be here for a while and play covers, because you really want to get your stuff heard. So
We do. It's hard to get originals played just by themselves, so we do have to mix in covers to keep people's interest, especially the bar crowds, because they want to hear stuff they can sing along with. So we'll play a couple covers and then slip one of ours in and hope that grabs their attention.
But luckily, at every show, we have a group of people that follow us from place to place, and we call them our eggheads, because they come to show after show after show, and they know more words of the original stuff than they do of the covers. They'll use the chance when we play covers to go get a drink or go outside and make a cell phone call or whatever.
Yeah, they're very loyal.
over time, you've been working towards putting this new album together, Phoenix. How long did it take you from start to finish, from writing the first song to getting it recorded?
Well, actually, the band has been around for a while, so a lot of the songs are older, backlog songs. But we'd gotten our new drummer, Brad, in October, and as soon as he joined, we started talking about writing a few new songs, putting the old songs on, just getting a full album's worth out there. And about 4 months practice with Brad, and we were ready. We went into the studio, we knocked it out within 3 sessions. We practiced and practiced until we had it down so we could just go in, knock it out, and get out without having to spend too much money on it.
We work really well together. The first time we went into the studio, we tracked
11 songs.
11 songs in how many hours? 4 hours?
Yeah, all the drums and rhythm, like in, I don't know, 6 hours, 7 hours.
Led Zeppelin recorded Led Zeppelin 2 in 2 weeks. We tracked an entire album in 4 hours, walked out there like, yeah!
Yeah.
And so did you listen on the playback and go, oh, or was it all good?
That's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were actually quite surprised with how well it turned out.
A lot of those were first takes.
Yeah.
Back in the day, record companies would really push bands to get their material together. The Beatles were actually one of those bands that would only get like 5 days to put together an album. And so they would have to put out so many songs a day that they hadn't even written. So they would write them, produce them, put them together. So 4 hours, I'd say that's a pretty good run of recording and stuff. But it's taken you a lot longer to get to know each other performance-wise, I'm sure, getting up on stage and doing that. And you did say your band's been around for a while. So I tell you what, why don't we talk about some of the songs that you've got on Phoenix? How about if we start out with 5 Years Dead?
Our brand new song.
Yeah, that was one of our new ones. We wanted to keep it kind of vague. Like, it could be a zombie song. It could be a song about a bad breakup. We left it up to the listener to decide, but we wanted it to kind of be heavy yet creepy, lamenting.
It's really cool. The first time we ever played it as a band, we nailed it almost on the first try without words. We just had the music for it, and it was just capturing lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Words came fairly easily afterwards, and he has a really good storyline as far as vagueness goes.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to give that a listen, and we're going to come back and talk about some more of your music, and we'll get a little bit further into it with the Ostrich Primer.
Awesome.
He's 5 years dead from the Ostrich Primer on the 9 o'clock news, local edition on Rock 93.7. We're visiting with the Ostrich Primer this week on the 9 o'clock news, local edition on Rock 93.7. Well, I think probably the most pressing question that I can come up with is, where the heck's the name come from? Yeah, really, come on. Ostrich Primer. Okay, now, is that ostrich paint, or is that a manual on how to be an ostrich?
It's actually a manual on how to be an ostrich.
Okay.
I used to live at a rodeo arena, and people came through trying to sell ostriches, and they were handing out these leaflets that were called Ostrich Primers, just a basic book about basic ostrich care. We were trying to figure out a name for the band. We wanted something like, STP was big at the time, AIC, and we wanted something with initials, so like the Ostrich Primer, TOP. It's kind of goofy, but it sticks in people's memory.
It's memorable.
We finally exposed it here because for years we've been telling all kinds of different stories about the first time we were in the paper and they asked us how we came up with the name. We gave something along the lines of the ostrich that fought Johnny Cash and almost won, got mutated, found DJ, bit him, turned him into a radioactive vampire ostrich that grew a bass guitar right out of his body.
But obviously that never happened.
Yeah, obviously.
No, Johnny Cash killed that ostrich. That couldn't have happened.
Make it a little bit awkward going through airports and metal detectors.
Indeed.
So, you get a little too
always
much
had a
iron in
different
your
story.
diet.
We made up different stories every time someone would ask us that. We never gave a straight answer, but it's
Well,
good.
that is a local edition exclusive. You now know the name, thanks to the guys on the show. So very cool. Glad that we could share that with everybody. Well, I was just curious. They said, hey, we got something from this band that they dropped off at the front door here. They brought their new album, and I'm looking at it going, okay, that's either a paint thing or a book thing. Now, because a shot coat of primer. So I figured maybe ostrich was a good color around your house. I didn't know. So
Someone asked us not too long ago, how do you prime an ostrich? And our answer was very careful.
It's kind of like you do a water well. So, well, that's where the name comes from. But where did the band come from? You guys, how long have you been together?
Well, I started the band in high school with my best friend, Dan Scott, and my other best friend, Scott Hamilton. We did it for years just messing around in the garage, and wasn't really going anywhere. And, eventually members left. We got new members. We actively started playing out about 2005, and Clay joined shortly after that.
This is my second time in the band.
Yeah, I fired him once, but
We love each other.
I let him back in.
That's part of rock and roll. That happens a lot.
But yeah, and then Brad came along about October of last year, and we've just been going full tilt boogie since Brad joined.
Everything's been coming up Millhouse for us lately.
Yeah.
Well, Brad, you're the quiet one of the bunch. I'm going to ask, where do you hail from? Where do you come from?
Well, originally I was born in Wisconsin, but my family moved down here when I was 8 years old. So I've been here in Cookeville most of my life.
How did you come across these guys?
I worked with Clay, and that's how I met him. And we were in a band before the Ostrich Primer. I was a drummer for another short-lived band called Deadfast, mostly a cover band. But once that band broke up, I was determined that I was going to be in another band with him. Because,
He didn't give me much of an option.
Yeah, we just, I don't know, we just work really well together. And
I was already working with DJ. DJ, almost the day I left Deadfast, he called and said, do you want to be back in TOP? And I was like, yes. So
He didn't even consider it. Like, as soon as I asked him to rejoin, yes. Okay, cool.
and Brad was already with me, so I just kind of came along with my own drummer. Rest is kind of history.
I actually auditioned Brad at Cosmos. He didn't have a place to set up his drums, so he brought his laptop and some videos of him playing War Pigs by Black Sabbath. And I saw him just busting it out on War Pigs, and you're hired.
That has got to be the first time I've ever heard of a video audition getting you a spot. That's kind of cool, actually. Speaking of being online, just so people know, they can find more information about you online. Now, you do have a lot of bands around here have Reverb Nation set up. They have a page through them, but I believe you guys also have your own little thing.
we have a Facebook, facebook.com/The Ostrich Primer, and then we have a SoundCloud where you can stream a few songs. It's The Ostrich Primer. I guess it's soundcloud.com/The Ostrich Primer. And then we have a Bandcamp site, theostrichprimer.bandcamp.com, where you can actually stream and also purchase digital downloads of the new album.
We'll continue our discussion with the Ostrich Primer on the 9 o'clock news local edition on Rock 93.7. We've been talking with the Ostrich Primer tonight on the 9 o'clock news, local edition on Rock 93.7 about their new album, Winter. And you guys, in putting this together, said it wasn't that much of a chore to record it. So I'm kind of curious about the other side of it. How do you come about your writing process?
It's different, really, for every song. Some songs we start out with the guitar melody, and then we write lyrics around that. Sometimes we come up with an idea for just the concept, of a song, and we'll start with lyrics then and then build music around it. It just depends on the song and the mood that we're in, really. I actually have a lot of problem holding Clay back because he knows a billion songs on guitar.
I do.
I'll have to wait, man, I haven't finished learning this one yet. Stop playing that one. But that's a good thing.
When we were writing our song, It Felt Right at the Time, which is on Phoenix, we actually were asked to write that song. A friend of ours commissioned us and asked us to write it. And when we asked him, what do you want it to sound like? He said, I just want it to sound like the Ostrich Primer, which we have locked down.
Yeah,
but
we're pretty good at that.
Kind of vague. So we wrote 4 or 5 different versions of that song. One's really dark and gloomy. One's really happy.
Yeah, I forgot about that. We had 3 or 4 different riffs that we were going to use for that song, and that's the one on the album is the one that stuck.
It was our first commissioned song, so we wanted to give them something that they would be happy with, cover all the bases.
I think what we did is awesome. I think they'd be really happy with it.
Yeah.
Well, and you've got alternative versions now for when you're out doing live shows. See how that works?
Yep.
One of our songs on the CD, which people probably won't hear unless it's just an off night at a show, is there's a song called Jun Jun Jin on Phoenix. I hope everyone likes, but we have a version of that called Jun Jun Jazz. It's just a jazz version of a heavy metal song.
It's got a nice swing beat and a low tempo. It's cool.
Well, how does your family factor in? You've got
I have 2 kids and a wife, and they're just so supportive. It's insane. My wife has actually tried to get me to work less hours at my real job to take time for the band, and I don't think anyone else would do that.
That's hard to come across. Yeah. What about you, Clay?
I have a fiance, and she has a wonderful 14-year-old son, and of course my mom and my grandmothers. They've all been 100% supportive, just like Charlie. They've just 100% stand behind the band. Huge eggheads, and they want us to work more on the band than anything else because they see us having a future with this. And that's really something special. Our families couldn't be more supportive.
How instrumental would you say is, as far as that goes, as to where you are now? If that had not been there, say, 5 years ago, do you think you'd still be pushing as hard?
We definitely wouldn't be as far along as we are now. Because we wouldn't, if you have to fight to go to practice every week and fight to go to play shows, eventually you're going to lose the taste for it. But with somebody actually backing you and supporting you, even on days when you just get out of work, you don't want to go practice 4 or 5 hours in a hot little room, and then your wife is there, honey, go ahead, do it. You need to do this. It helps. It's a really big addition to the band, I think.
And what's really cool about that is they meet the eggheads, people that come to shows that buy CDs. And they get tripped out by people who will sing the words to original songs or will flock over and ask us to sign CDs, and they just get a kick out of it. I love seeing my mother's face light up when she gets to see her son be a rock star for a little bit.
All right. Well, that sounds very cool. I love to hear the whole family thing. That is very cool. Now, you guys have plenty of songs on Phoenix and a lot of different stuff on there. What about For All I Know? That's a little bit different because you switch up vocals on that.
I wrote that song a long time ago, believe it or not, back in 2000, 2001. It was about a friend of mine that had passed away. But anyone can listen to it and take from it what they want. It was the first song I ever brought to the band where after I played it for them, they liked it. They thought, well, you ought to sing it. So I did. I just kept singing, and it's taken on a life of its own. But this song is basically just about being sad. You don't know what's happened to your loved one. It could be your friend, it could be a lover, it could be whatever.
One of my favorites. I love it. I love the subject matter. It gave me chills the first time I heard it.
A lot of people have been connecting with it because everybody at some point has lost somebody, and this song is connecting.
This is For All I Know. It's the Ostrich Primer on the 9 o'clock news local edition on Rock 93.7. It's the 9 o'clock news local edition on Rock 93.7, the show that's all about local music. And every week we hang out with a different band. We've been hanging out with the Ostrich Primer. We got to find out what the name's all about. If you missed that part, you missed out because they're taking it to their graves. They said they're not going to repeat that, right?
Ever again.
Well, we'll lay out some version of it, maybe.
We thought maybe we would give a lot of hints in our album covers for the next 30 years.
Paul is dead.
Brad's not really in the band.
It's Kind of like ZZ Top keeps changing how it was originally formed. Kind of like that. Not a bad thing to be compared to. And in fact, listen to your tunes. I hear a lot of different influences in there. So how about if we take a look at some of the bands that have influenced you as far as what you're doing as the Ostrich Primer, shaping it up? Clay, what was it for you?
Oh, man. I love the Beatles. I love Kiss. I love Motley Crue. The first time I heard Eddie Van Halen play guitar, I knew I wanted to play guitar the rest of my life. And the first time I saw Kiss live, I just knew I was going to do that for a living the rest of my days. And then once I saw Paul McCartney in concert, I realized I'm just not as good as I think I am. But I love all my classic rock. I'd rather listen to the Beatles than 90% of anything that's out there today. But there is a lot of good music out there.
Well, what about you, Dark Charlie?
Well, the Beatles, of course, but also like bands like Nirvana, Alice in Chains. I like a lot of grunge rock, industrial rock, and I'm also quite a big juggalo. I like the Insane Clown Posse and Twisted, ABK, stuff like that. I just try and mix a bunch of different stuff in. I'll listen to almost anything.
So that's a rather eclectic taste, going from Beatles all the way to ICP.
Yeah, and that's the way my phone shuffles, too. I'll get some ICP and then a nice mellow Beatles song and then, some Ministry. It's nice.
Well, there you go. What about you, Brad?
I'm all over the place also. I like everything from jazz to like progressive rock and metal, things like a band I'm really into now is called Animals as Leaders. It's instrumental, there's no vocals, it's really complicated music, but real heavy, and I like that.
It's cool.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of different direction from each member here, so
that really helps us stay in a broad genre. I mean, we can't really be labeled as one specific type of music just because we like so many different things, and we like to have fun.
Yeah, there's some punk going on, I think, with our music. Yeah, some of it.
I like to throw in those big '80s guitar solos. I can't help it. I'm guilty of that. Brad plays everything really progressively on the drums, and DJ just raps and rocks. It's awesome. We try to bring a nice little steady mix to whatever we do.
Now, when it comes to vocals, Charlie, I noticed I'm going to pay you a bit of a compliment here. I don't know if you'll agree with this thought or not, and your bandmates might. Listen to a little bit of it and kind of heard a little rat in there. Wow. Just a little bit. I was like, oh, wow, that sounds tinges of Stephen Percy in there.
I love his singing voice. I mean,
that's actually pretty cool.
Talking as his guitar player, I love his singing voice. He gets a lot of compliments on it all the time. When we were recording with Ricky Scruggs, he said it was the best heavy metal voice for the kind of music that we do that he's heard.
It all blends together quite nicely. Everybody seems to work really well. I think as a trio, it's a nice fit. So going forward, we've now got an album under our belts, and you guys have got goals set.
Oh, yeah.
That is something that you're big on, is trying to set milestones.
Yeah, we like to set goals and then reach them. We work best under a deadline. If we don't have stuff set, we'll just kind of noodle around and just, skiffle.
Speaking of having goals, then we've got, we're playing every weekend. We're out there hitting places that we can. We are, with now one album under your belt, you've got it through digital download, and looking towards the next album, or are you looking towards playing more and getting this album down as far as
actually,
live?
I think we've actually got 3 or 4 songs in the vault for our next album, but we want to play out more and work up more money, get more fans. One of the big things we got to do this year was we got to open for Green Jello. And I've been fans of them. I've been a fan of them since the 90s. We actually covered the Three Little Pigs song.
Oh, hold on. We got a Green Jelly.
That's
Don't want anybody getting in trouble. Right. They had that whole lawsuit settlement.
Green Jelly.
So,
Sorry.
It's got to be Green Jelly. I don't want that guy getting in trouble because I enjoy what he does too. So
and he is an awesome, awesome person.
And interesting to check out. If you've never checked him out, you can find them online too. So you guys got a chance to open for those guys. Probably a highlight.
Oh, yeah.
Any other major highlights?
Yeah, that's
actually just Phoenix itself, going into the studio, recording it, getting it done in such a short amount of time, and having it sound so good. I mean, I hate to sound vain, but we are very, very proud of it. And we put a lot of work into it. So just seeing people enjoy it, people that are listening to it, getting the feedback, everyone saying, oh, I love this song, or I love that song. When's the next coming out? When's the next show? That's the big payoff. I mean, I'm really, really enjoying that.
All right. Well, guys, I appreciate you stopping by, and it was my pleasure having you in studio. So thank you
so much.
Thank you.